The Terminal Man film. The Terminal Man is a 1974 film directed by Mike Hodges, based on the 1972 novel of the same name by Michael Crichton. It stars George Segal. The story centers on the immediate dangers of mind control and the power of computers. Plot: Harry Benson, an intelligent IQ 144 computer scientist in his 30s, suffers from epilepsy. He often has seizures that induce blackouts, after each of which he awakens to unfamiliar surroundings with indications of violent behavior on his part. He also suffers from delusions that computers will rise up against humans. Benson suffers from acute disinhibitory lesion syndrome and consents to an experimental psychosurgical procedure known as Stage 3. Stage 3 requires surgeons to implant electrodes in his brain, which will detect the onset of a seizure and then use an electrical impulse to stop it. The surgery initially appears to be a success. Benson's psychiatrist, Janet Ross, opposes the procedure, concerned that once the operation is complete, Benson will suffer further psychosis as a result of his person merging with that of a computer, something he has come to distrust and disdain. 2 days after the operation, it becomes apparent that his brain is now addicted to the electrical impulses. The seizures are initiating at increasingly shorter intervals. When they become continuous, Benson will be in a permanent blackout, with the violent behavior that goes with it. Just before Ross realizes what is happening, Benson escapes from the hospital. He does become unpredictably violent, but his intact intelligence allows him to evade the police for a considerable time, at one point confronting Ross in her home. Cast: George Segal as Harry Benson, Joan Hackett as Dr. Janet Ross, Richard A. Dysart as Dr. John Ellis, Jill Clayburgh as Angela Black, Donald Moffat as Dr. Arthur McPherson, Michael C. Gwynn as Dr. Robert Maurice, William Hansen as Dr. Ezra Manon, Norman Burton as Det, Captain Anders, James B. Sicking as Ralph Friedman. Production. Reception. The Terminal Man, though not released in the UK, was successful in Japan, and according to Hodges, it was dumped when it came to US screenings. We had one terrible preview. They projected it without sound for the first 10 minutes, which was excruciating. American audiences found the film too uncompromising, too tough to take. The reviews were dire. I think people had a problem accepting George Segal in the lead role. At that time he was known as a light comedian, but I wanted him for the film. When Mike Kaplan, a Warner Bros. International marketing executive, attempted to override Warner Bros. Decision not to release the film in Britain, he sought Kubrick's help. After explaining the situation and how the film required a different marketing campaign, Kubrick interrupted with, "I've already seen it, and it's terrific." The director Terrence Malick wrote to Hodges expressing how much he loved watching The Terminal Man, saying, "I have just come from seeing The Terminal Man and want you to know what a magnificent, overwhelming picture." Alternate versions. On its release at the 2003 Edinburgh Film Festival, there was a director's cut, which Hodges edited himself by removing the self-contained opening expository scene of the doctor looking at photographs of Harry Benson. Production studio notes had insisted the scene would give the audience someone to root for.